Lesson 3, topic quadratic formula. Learning target, I can solve a quadratic equation by using the quadratic formula. First off, our vocab, the quadratic formula. The solutions of the quadratic equation, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, are x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. That's a mouthful, right? So what this is saying is, given any quadratic equation, as long as we have it set equal to 0, we can find the solutions. Now remember, our solutions are our x-intercepts. So sometimes we have two solutions because we cross our x-axis 2 times. Sometimes we have one solution because we cross our x-axis 1 time. And sometimes we have no solutions because we never cross the x-axis. So this formula will give us the solutions to any quadratic equation as long as it's set equal to 0. All we have to do is plug in our values for a, b, and c. So we're going to go through 3 examples here. First example is solve the quadratic equation with the quadratic formula. So I've given you the quadratic formula right here. First thing we need to do is identify our a, our b, and our c, and make sure the equation is set equal to 0. Set equal to 0, so we can say our a is 1, because there's just a 1 hiding there invisibly. Our b is negative 5, and our c is negative 14. Reminder, take the signs with the numbers. Now we just have to plug these values into our quadratic formula. So we have x equals, I'm going to draw that fraction bar. Now when we plug our values into the quadratic formula, we want to put every value we replace for a letter in parentheses. So we have negative, and then when I see b, I'm going to put parentheses, and then inside I'm going to put the value for b, which is negative 5. Plus or minus, that's how we read that sign, it's plus or minus, the square root of b squared, so inside parentheses I'm going to put negative 5 and then square it, minus 4 times a, which is 1, and then times c, which is negative 14. All over 2a, so 2 times 1, because a is 1. Now the fun part is just being able to type it into our calculator to get the values. Now we have to do this twice because you see plus or minus, which means one time we're going to type it in with a plus sign, and one time we're going to type it in with a minus sign, and that's how we get those 2 solutions, because sometimes we can have 2 solutions to our quadratic equation. We have 2 different versions here. For today, I'm going to have you use this Desmos calculator that I will link in Schoology. And that is so we can easily edit it to change the plus to a minus really easily and make it more efficient for you guys doing these math problems. So we're just going to type in, we're going to start with the fractions. We're going to hit this fraction button right here. And on the top, we're going to type in the entire top. So negative, in parentheses, negative 5. I'm going to start with the plus version. And then square root is right here. So square root of, and then in parentheses, we're going to put negative 5, close the parentheses, square it with this a squared button right here, minus 4, and then in parentheses 1, and then in parentheses negative 14. So just make sure you're copying it into the calculator exactly as you wrote it down. And then on the bottom, you will put 2 in parentheses 1, close the parentheses, and then as it says, your answer shows up on the side. So one of our answers is 7. So I'm going to put x equals 7 and then a comma because I'm going to change that plus sign to a minus sign so we can get that second answer. So I'm going to go up here, I'm going to edit that plus to a minus, and then right away I get my second answer, which is negative 2. All right, let's do another example. We've got negative 2x squared minus 8x minus 14 equals negative 6. Now the first thing we have to do is make this equal 0. because we need it to be set equal to 0. So to do that, we just have to undo the negative 6 with a plus 6 on both sides. Negative 6 plus 6 is 0. We bring down the negative 2x squared, bring down the negative 8x, and then negative 14 plus 6, take the sign with a number, is negative 8. So now we can label our A, our B, and our C. Our A is negative 2, our B is negative 8, and our C is also negative 8. Then we just have to plug these values into our quadratic formula. So we have x equals negative b, make sure you replace all the numbers in parentheses, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so negative 8 squared minus 4 times negative 2 times negative 8, all over 2a, so 2 times negative 2. And then again, we're just going to plug this into our calculator. Reminder, we have to do both the plus and the minus. So again, we get our fraction, negative 8 in parentheses. I'm going to start with the plus version, square root of negative 8 squared minus 4 times negative 2 times negative 8. And then on the bottom, 2 times negative 2. And then we get the answer of x equals negative 2. And then, reminder, we did the plus version, so now we have to do the minus version. So go back into my calculator and then just change that plus sign to a minus sign. And you see that we get the answer of negative 2 again. So this is an example of a quadratic equation that only has one solution. We only touch the x-axis one time. And the reason for that is we clear out all of this. Our square root piece is equal to 0. So that means we're adding 0 and we're subtracting 0, which just keeps that value the same. All right, one more example. I want you guys to try this one on your own, see what you get, and then resume the video. So you should have gotten these values for your A, B, and C. A is 9, B is negative 3, C is 2. And when you put that in the quadratic formula, it should look like this. Now, when you typed that into your calculator, you should have found that you got this undefined answer. Now, the reason for that is this piece that's underneath the radical, or the square root, is a negative number, and we can't take the square root of a negative number. You see it's negative 63. We can't take the square root of a negative number, so we're going to get an undefined answer. And when that happens, when you get an undefined answer, that means we have no solution. So this is one of those times that the graph just doesn't cross the x-axis. So we don't have a solution. So that is how we use the quadratic formula to find the solutions to quadratic equations. Go ahead and move into your practice.